So we've got some bullshit. Some would even say we've got some ass shit. It's possible. So the CDC director, once again, I would like to start this segment by saying I am double vaccinated and boosted. I'm looking forward to getting my next booster when that ever happens. And so, as soon as it's a thing, I'm willing and able and wanting to get my fourth shot. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with vaccination. Get vaccinated. I recommend it. It makes you feel good. So anyway, that said, the CDC director was posting cringe on Twitter. So let's post this. This is Rachel Walensky, fellow ski. As of April 7th, more than 99% of the U.S. population is in a location with a low or medium COVID-19 community level. Communities should watch for changes in COVID-19 community levels and take action when needed. So as you can see, Rochelle Walensky got ratioed, an old school style of ratio. So for those of you that don't know, there's like a new school ratio and then there's the old school ratio on Twitter. The old school ratio is when you get more replies of people yelling at you than likes or retweets. That's an old school ratio. Now new school ratio is when you respond to someone and your tweet gets more likes. They're both valid. I'm just saying she got both. She got double dipped in the ratio. So now, again, I've been covering this for the last couple of months. The CDC, what they've been doing is every couple of weeks and months, they've been slightly tweaking how they report COVID data, how data is reported and tracked, right? How only hospitalizations, only in-person testing facilities, and now they're stopping funding for testing, right? And then people that do at-home testing, it's always optional on whether or not they want to report the result. Most people, there's going to be that percentage, right? Once again, you cannot assume that 100% of people that get an at-home test and test positive are going to report it. Now, you can encourage it, but again, there's always going to be a percentage that just doesn't do it for whatever. Maybe they just forget. Maybe they were going to, but then I'm positive. So then they had a panic attack and right. Any one of those things has happened, right? So you cannot expect, unless there is a built-in mandatory mechanism, you cannot expect 100% of people that do at-home tests to report the results, right? So again, it's resulting, that combined with the fact that a couple of weeks ago, what they did was they changed the transmission level guidelines. So now, right, so you see how it's low, medium, and high. The old guidelines, low would be high in the old guidelines. So what they did is they basically took the old low, medium, high, they doubled high, and then that's the new low, and then they just continue, so this is, now, why I'm saying this is because you can still access the old metric, and if you access the old metric, this is what you can see. This is the map that shows up, where a lot of places, especially in the Northeast, high transmission, a lot of other places, substantial or moderate. Very few states have low transmission, and the states that have a lot of low transmission numbers also are having their own internal state problems with reporting, stuff like that. So, once again, the CDC is lying to you. The CDC has been lying to every one of us, at least since April of 2021, when they said that people should take their I guess it was May of 2021, when they said people should take their masks off. And then the Delta variant came, and then they're like, oh, I guess put them back on, and then take them off again, and then Omicron came. Now, here's another important tidbit of data I want to show. This is wastewater monitoring in the U.S., and as you can see, this is over the last 6 weeks. So again, we were going down. Now, for those of you just real quick that need, what is wastewater testing? So you can find COVID in shit in the sewer. And so there are groups of scientists that will gather the shit and then test which parts per whatever have COVID in them to get just kind of a general understanding of what the general population is dealing with. So as you can see here, Now we can look at the total results, and now the results are not, of course, perfect. There's wastewater testing didn't, it wasn't really that big of a thing at the start, and it's been getting more and more done over time, so factor that in. So anyway, you can look at the results. Here's the Omicron surge right here to compare to. So as we can see, right, the cases are skyrocketing upward, right? The wastewater is like a little bit, there's an advance, right? There's an advance here of the way things work. And as you can see, the cases went down and have been staying down, right? So as you can see over the last 6 weeks, this is the important metric, is that cases are going down and down and down, and there's a desynchronization. So if you look at this such desynchronization isn't really there. It's a little bit of a lagging indicator, right? That said, it's kind of synchronized, right? The wastewater goes up. Let me scroll this down, actually. I apologize. The wastewater goes up as the cases go up, right? So, but now, all of a sudden, we're seeing in the last 6 weeks, again, as the CDC has changed a lot of their guidelines, we're seeing that now there's this desynchronization. Cases are going down continually, cases are going down while the number of wastewater testing is stabilizing, okay? And now it's going up, which is, again, cause for alarm as cases are continuing to go down. Now, again, the reason why cases are going down is because the reporting metrics have changed. They're not reporting as nearly as many cases. They've changed the data. It's a cover-up. That's it. Plain and simple, it's a cover-up. That's how it is. But there is still one semi-reliable way of measuring where we are in COVID. And now, again, are we as bad as we were in Omicron? Not yet. But as you can see, over the course of a small amount of time, things can change, right? Look at this uptick, significant uptick things can change rapidly. It's exponential. And we know that the Omicron variant and the BA2 variant have a high reinfection risk, meaning the so-called natural immunity, not so good on the immunity scale with these new subvariants. So once again, this is exponential. This could be way worse in another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks, and we won't know. This might be one of the only metrics that we're able to really kind of get this information from is sewage testing. And again, the CDC, what are they doing? What are they doing? And now again, the CDC is getting ratioed on Twitter, so a lot of people are really kind of coming to terms with the fact that the government isn't here. We are on our own. Joe Biden's administration told us to go fuck ourselves. 2 middle fingers. But 2 middle fingers was not enough. 2 middle fingers was not enough. So they got Rochelle Walensky to get 2 more middle fingers. Everyone at the CDC has more middle fingers for us. Fuck you. Give us your tax dollars. And then we're going to do nothing in return. We're going to stop funding COVID vaccines and testing. And we're just going to say, maybe you should go to the mall and shop, bro. The government has completely abandoned everyone. And also, it needs to be understood that in Europe, right, in China, we're seeing outbreaks where they are keeping better data metrics. And we're seeing that, again, now, China and Europe are kind of like ahead of the curve, right, on us, right, because how COVID kind of goes, it started there, and then it went here over time, right, so in 2 weeks, we'll kind of be more closely to the European and Chinese numbers, and those numbers are skyrocketing, and we're just, if you talk to a random person on the street, how do you feel about COVID, they're gonna say, oh man, COVID, remember that? Only 6% of Americans think COVID is the most important issue in this country, when it is factually, objectively, the most important issue in this country. Without any question, no debate. If COVID, you can extrapolate to be a public health crisis. Public health crises are the most important thing that we're dealing with. Because again, not everyone who gets COVID is going to die, right? But not everyone who gets COVID is going to fully recover. There's a certain amount. We're looking now. Current projections and estimates say about 20 to 30% of people that get COVID are going to develop some form of long COVID. It seems that one of the biggest indicators of whether or not you get a long COVID kind of diagnosis is whether or not your body was allowed to have proper time to heal. So again, we saw in the Omicron surge that the CDC was telling people, go to work, go to work, go to work. Go to work. As soon as your fever starts going down a little bit, you gotta go back to work. Go to work, go to work, go to work, go to work. Work, 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 work. Oh, you just tested positive and you were throwing up yesterday? Well, you gotta come into work, right? So we see that the capitalist structure of this country is not giving anyone time to recover. Like, let's assume that we change nothing, right? Other than the fact that if you got COVID, you have to mandatory, you're off for a month, right? And you have full recovery time. Would long COVID rates be different? Probably, right? So again, we're getting sick as a country. We're not getting any amount of recovery period. So the sickness lingers for longer. It's going to cause more long-term disabilities, right? So this is going to be a very big problem for the public health in this country for the rest of our lives. We're going to be dealing with people that got COVID when they were 17 years old and never fully recovered and now have a permanent disability. We're going to be dealing with people that, again, just have to live for 70, 80 years where they just had long COVID. Some people, again, got COVID in March and April of 2020, and they still have problems tasting, smelling. This is a problem. This country has kind of decided, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck them. Fuck them. This government has said, fuck you at every step of the way. They don't care about you. They will never care about you. They could never care about you. And that's a problem. So